Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nepantla, an exploration of Indigenous healing and transformation with Ana Louise Keating and Brenda Salgado. My name is Andrew Engel, and I'm senior programmer at Reimagine. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a white cisgender male. I've got my glasses, my plaid flannel shirt that's keeping me very warm today, and a bright orange background is behind me. This month at Reimagine, we're presenting programs on Wednesdays that examine the natural world as a space for us to grow and transform from our troubles. And you'll be able to register for all these events in a link that I'll paste later in the chat. As some of you may know, we at Reimagine have been leaning into the process and the philosophy of what's known as post-traumatic growth, or PTG. PTG is evidence-based psychological research that allows us to recognize opportunity and experience change when we struggle with grief, loss, and trauma. The kinds of growth that occur with PTG can include an increase in personal strength, optimism, more meaningful relationships, a deeper appreciation of life, and heightened spirituality and purpose. The concept of PTG isn't exclusive to Western science. The late Zen Buddhist monk and peace activist Thich Nhat Hanh has a simple expression that is another way of describing PTG. It's no mud, no lotus. And struggle is essential for any kind of growth. Last week at my synagogue, we were chanting a section of the Torah, and that section is quite famous. It's where Jacob is wrestling with the angel. Jacob ended up being wounded, but this bizarre and traumatic event ultimately transformed him. He ultimately repaired his relationship with his estranged brother Esau. My hope is that today's program is a first step towards showing equal respect for scientific research and spiritual traditions when it comes to understanding the struggle with adversity and the transformation that follows. Nepantla is an indigenous concept. The word is in the language of Nahuatl. The visionary writer Gloria Anzaldúa interpreted Nepantla as, quote, a liminal space where you are not this or that, but where you are in a kind of transition in the midst of transformation. It's a space where you can understand that, quote, the source of profound wounding and deep points of pain is also the source of great creativity and insight. I'm going to let our guest, Ana Louise Keating, elaborate more. She is the leading interpreter of Gloria Anzaldúa. Ana Louise and Brenda Salgado will be in conversation for about 25 minutes. And after that, Brenda, who is truly an MC, and by that I mean a master of ceremony, will lead us in an hour-long practice of breath and energy work that will make us feel more rooted to the earth and the natural world. The majority of us are zooming in from the United States, also known as Turtle Island by Native Americans and their allies. I am in Lenapehoking, where a large city called New York is on occupied land. I ask you to join me in acknowledging Indigenous communities in North America, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. I'm stating this because it's a step to continue the process of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and white supremacy. We at Reimagine are all interested in knowing where you are. I think some of you have already put this into the chat, but there is a very helpful map, which I can type in later. It's native-land.ca, and you can check out and learn about the locations of Indigenous people. For those who wish, click on the CC icon at the bottom of your screen to get a live transcript of what's being said. And you can save the chat that I hope will be active during this conversation by clicking on 3 dots in the chat box. And feel free, of course, to send me a note if you're having any technical issues. I might be able to help. Okay. Also, I want to let everyone know that anyone who has registered for this event will get a follow-up email with the recording. And now, it's my great honor to introduce Ana Louise Keating and Brenda Salgado. Ana Louise Keating is a professor of multicultural women's and gender studies at Texas Women's University. She is the author, most recently, of the Anzalduan Theory Handbook and Transformation Now toward a post-oppositional politics of change. She worked with Gloria Anzaldúa for the last decade of Anzaldúa's life as an editor and co-editor. Ana Louise is also a certified yoga instructor. Brenda Salgado is founder of Nepantla Consulting and is in the process of establishing the Nepantla Land Trust and the Nepantla Center for Healing and Renewal. She holds degrees in biology, developmental psychology, and animal behavior. So Brenda, you truly straddle the worlds of Western science and spirituality, and we're so happy to have you. Brenda is an author, public speaker, facilitator, teacher, healer, and organizational consultant. She has received training from Indigenous elders in traditional medicine and healing ceremony. Brenda draws on the healing powers of the natural world to guide her work. She has taught, facilitated, and led ceremony at numerous gatherings, including events with Reimagine. And now it's my pleasure to have the two of you in conversation with us. Thank you.
What a joy to be here with all of you. And thank you for all of you sharing where you're calling in from. Appreciate that so much.
Great to be here. Thank you, everybody. And Andy, thank you for putting this together and bringing these really important bodies of wisdom into dialogue and then sharing them via the magic of the internet. Yeah, it's great. So needed, so needed.
Yeah, and maybe we can introduce ourselves in the way that we feel comfortable too. So my name is Brenda Salgado. I'm the daughter of Carlos and Esmeralda Salgado. We're both born and raised in Nicaragua on Chorotega, indigenous Chorotega lands. And I now live in San Leandro, California, which is unceded Ohlone territories. And so those are the people and the places I come from, and that hold me.
Ana Louise Keating, daughter of Tom and Joanne Keating, originally from Chicago, now living in North Texas, the land of the Wichita and many other tribal nations that were pushed out of Texas.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what a joy to be with you. I was so excited when Andy called me and said, hey, we have this idea. And I was like, I've always wanted to talk to Annalise Keating, and I'm always reading her stuff and her, I have quotes from her, some of her work on my website. There's like a whole tab that says, what is Nepantla? And of course, all it does is quote you and Gloria Anzaldúa. So I was very excited, and also just very excited that Reimagine was bringing this topic of nature and healing and transformation together, and really recognizing that there's some ancient traditions that have wisdom around this, mystic and other forms of indigenous wisdom around this. So yes, definitely very excited to talk with you. And one of the things I told them when we were talking was like, oh, I love Ofrenda magazine. And I saw this really great article from her about that very topic that you're talking about. Like, what are 3 lessons from Nepantla in transformation? So yeah, the timing of it all just felt really magical and beautiful. So I'm very honored to be sitting here with you. And because I see you as like the preeminent Anzaldúa scholar, as well as her friend, and that loved her through her life, that means a lot to me, that you had direct relationship with her. What do you want to share about how Gloria and Zaldua talked about Nepantla and transformation?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let me just like honor Gloria always. Like the work she did in the world and the work she's still doing is so important. And I am so grateful that honestly, through some bad stuff in my own life, I got to meet her, become friends, work with her and all of that. It's always a reminder to me that the types of healing that can come from pain or from disappointment can be huge. So Nepantla is a Nahuatl word, as you know. It has many meanings, but one of the meanings is in between. And Anzaldúa started theorizing and using the word Nepantla after Borderlands La Frontera, which is the book she's best known for. It was published in 1987. She realized people were only thinking of the borderlands as a geographic space, which she meant, but she also meant it as this complex liminal threshold of chaos and pain and trauma from which maybe healing would emerge, but maybe not, right? So she meant it in the way that she ended up using Nepantla, but she decided, people were interpreting borderlands differently, so she came up with, or she started using this idea of Nepantla. And she also was influenced by Victor Turner, for example, and by post-colonial thought, which was talking a lot about liminality. So when we think of a liminal space, it's a threshold. And a threshold isn't inside and it's not outside, but it's kind of both. And in some ancient rituals, when people cross a threshold, it's almost like going down into a kind of abyss or chaos. They don't know what will happen. You step into it or you're forced into it. And transformation happens, might be good, it might be bad. It's a lot of uncertainty. And so Nepantla contains all of those ideas that she would use in different kinds of ways, depending on what she was writing about. And sometimes we can get so excited about the idea of transformation. It's like, yay, change is good. But with Nepantla is also built into it the fact that pain can really hurt, even if it might be good. I mean, the transformation can really hurt, even if maybe it's good or maybe not. So Nepantla, in a nutshell, that would be some of the meanings of Nepantla.
Yeah. I think the first time I read that word, and Nepantlera in particular, I felt so seen. I felt like I came home, because it's, from a very young age, whether it's in my family or in other situations, I know that she talked a lot about being this bridge called my back, and that Nepantleras come to be these bridge builders and don't really fit in any one place, but they could see the connection across things, and that place is a place for psychic and got a lot of big sun coming in. See if I can move. Thank you, grandfather sun. So I remember just feeling really seen as someone who often played this bridge role. And I remember her talking about this place can be very painful, and you feel like you don't belong in any one camp kind of thing. And people may see you as betraying individual camps, but also that these people serve as points of psychic transformation to be able to bring wholeness to where there's a lot of division. And I felt really seen in that description as someone who came here to be a bridge builder, and that my back is a bridge, right? And that can be a both beautiful place and and she is in those sunbeams. I just saw that. Yeah, I totally agree. I felt like that was the reason it came in at that moment.
I think Nepantlera is one of her most original theories, right? She created that word, and it's someone who has experienced that Nepantla, and instead of being like, okay, I understand this, now I'm over here, and they stay in some other spot, a Nepantlera through choice witnesses to all sides, even sometimes like, ooh, right? I mean, honestly, it doesn't mean just like picking and choosing. It means like being there to do this kind of very, sometimes challenging, potentially very positively transformational bridging work. I felt the same way. Like when I was reading her drafts of Now Let Us Shift, where she was in the writing process, she came up with that theory, looking back at her own experience in a 1990 conference, right? So it's her. Nepantlera is the ultimate Anzaldúa, right? But when I read that, I was like, I felt the same way. I felt like, wow, yes, this describes.
And it
and my
feels like
call.
the work of our time, right? Where there's a lot of Indigenous prophecy around this time, and humanity having kind of, the medicine wheel or the hoop of humanity having broken apart, and that this is the time of us needing to come back together and bringing a lot of these Indigenous perspectives back so that humanity can come back together, not just in relationship to other peoples, but also to our larger kinship with the non-human world, right? And the liminal, we were talking about this before folks came on, like the liminal is such an important space in this time. The mystic, I shared that I go to a lot of intermystic leader meetings, which is really different from interfaith gatherings. And this piece around being able to drop in together and across difference and perspective, and to really listen to each other and be in practice together. Like, we're not going to get where we need to go as a humanity in the intellectual space. It's going to be in that liminal, intuitive Nepantla space that's going to get us there.
Yeah.
I want to read a quote from the opening quote from that paper in the Nepantla issue. If you're interested in Nepantla, a friend that has a whole issue that's just on the topic of Nepantla, and this is an art. There's an article in there by you. In Nepantla, we undergo the anguish of changing our perspective and crossing a series of cruces, junctures, and thresholds, some leading to a different way of relating to people and surroundings, and others to the creation of a new world. And I love that you said in there, like, I want to talk to you a little bit about Nepantla first, but then, I want to go into some lessons. And so the first lesson you spoke about was embracing contradiction. Do you want to say a little bit about Gloria's kind of perspective on embracing contradiction in that Nepantla space?
Yeah, and to link it with what you said before about Indigenous knowledge is coming back, or how we need this Nepantla perspective. Right now we have too often it's us against them. It's these binaries and these polarizations, right? And this idea of embracing contradiction means holding the multiplicity. It's more than two, and perspectives might not seem to make sense, but instead of deciding something immediately, it's kind of sitting with that contradiction and being willing to be uncertain for a while. Nepantla is uncertainty, right? And I see that all the way going back to something early Anzaldúa wrote about El Mundo Zurdo when she, in this bridge called My Back, La Prieta, when she talks about aligning herself with Marxists and with people who study the occult and with artists and with gay white men and with like all sorts of people, and every group is saying, no, you only have to be with us. And she's saying, I can be with all of you. I can reject the rules and I can embrace you, and then just sit with that and create something new. So I think we really need to figure out how to get our minds and our hearts in a space where we can start to think differently or be open to other possibilities, because what we have now, a lot of it is not working. Yeah.
I love the quote that you had in there about kind of moving from the either or us against, to the stepping into an and, both and, being able to hold multiple perspectives in that way. And that there's so much more available. It may be uncomfortable for sure, but there's so much more available when we switch our worldview to be able to hold those multiple viewpoints and to embrace that contradiction. And then that was your second point, embracing contradiction. I was really intrigued by that too, just being able to, so many images like of some of our Indigenous deities who like have, myth stories of being broken into many pieces and coming back together. So I'm curious for you, what are some things you want to share about how Gloria embraced contradiction in the way that she helped us work?
Yeah, and I'll just link it with the first lesson, which was to have faith in our inner wisdom and our soul's vision, right? Mm-hmm. Because what I saw Gloria doing as she could sit with the contradictions was there was this faith in both an inner wisdom and a faith in a larger cosmic harmony, even when we can't see it. Mm-hmm. The relationality of it all. If you can, even when you can't see it, if you can know that of that relationality, you can know that like we're all interconnected, then you can, sometimes have a little more patience to allow things to arise. So it created in her like Yeah, I think that's why, I would go to some talks with her and I'd see her do book signings, and she was so good at just listening and giving time for each person and just listening. So there was this kind of like the ability to just sit and be open, right? Not open to be like talking, but open to listen and to hear with the kind of like respect of the other person, and not just human people. I'm not talking just human people. It was often for her trees or Yamaya and the ocean and all of that. So being open, or a field that she was walking through. So being open and receptive to listen, right, is just an important part. And I think that receptivity grounded in a kind of faith in oneself or the soul can then lead to a little more ability to hold the contradictions.
Yeah. And then your last point in the article was about activating the Nepantla brain, which I love. That language, that made me so happy. Because it's such a different way of, I saw this talk on CIS recently about the difference between the dominant worldview and the Indigenous, more kinship worldview. And it made me think about this a lot, because it is about being more relational and more listening, right? And in that way we can be in more flow with the greater world. But I'm curious what activating the Nepantla brain meant to you, and your interpretation of that.
Yeah, I wanna really think about that and write about that more, because as I think, not just I think it's very embodied. The Nepantla brain is not just located up here. The Nepantla brain is throughout our body. Many ancient traditions see the stomach as a source of wisdom, as our second brain or something like that. So and I'm bringing in like my teaching of yin yoga as well, and my understanding of our connective tissue, which is all literally, our fascia is all connected in our bodies. We have it in our bodies as well, this interconnectivity. When we can turn really within to listen, we're not just we're growing our Nepantla brain maybe as we activate what Ansel Duo called La Facultad, that embodied wisdom. So I see it as involving those. I see it as Ansel Duo is really interested in those subtle energy systems, so probably it would have something to do with them, whether we call it the chakras or the four winds, or so many cultures talk about that. And then also, wait, what was I going to say? I lost it. Probably being open, so be open to synchronicity, right? So we're reading events differently. At the beginning of that last chapter of Light in the Dark, Ansel Duo is activating her Nepantla brain as she walks through a field, and she listens, and she's just open.
Yeah. I want to make time here because I know there's a lot of questions coming in, which is making me really excited that people are engaged and wanting to engage with us. So let's make a little time for that too. I want to thank you for all your work. Like, I'm just so grateful, because I love reading Ansel Duo, and I love reading your interpretation and your expounding on her thoughts. So I'm so grateful to be here. Should we just start at the top? So I have a question for Dr. Keating. I find that in Ansel Duo's work, especially about Nepantla and Coatlicue state, that she describes the process, what may look like, but never really goes into detail of what her Coatlicue state was like. I'm curious of her own Coatlicue state and the potential possibility of using this state to connect with others who are no longer with us. That's so interesting, because one of the practices we're going to do later is a Toltec practice, connecting with Coatlicue.
Hi, Dr. Keating.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm well, thank you. It's Hura from San Diego. We met through Dr. Lara at San Diego State University. Yeah. It's been a while. And so, that was my question. Familiar with the Coatlicue state? Of course, you wrote about it. So please, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, the Coatlicue state, which she talked about first in Borderlands, and then later, right, in Light in the Dark. What it looked like for her, it looked like profound depression. Really, it looked like paralyzing, like being frozen. It looked like being frozen depression. But I think she was able to hold that space generally with the belief and assumption that work was happening, and that if she could stay with it. So thanks for asking about that, because it's another way to think about contradictions. If she could stay with that, transformation would happen. She would come out of it. And I think here it's really useful and interesting to remind ourselves that before it was the Coatlicue state, it was the Medusa state. And then we can think of Medusa as the completely fine person who, you know, was eventually turned into what the dominant culture saw as a monster and beheaded. But that beheading led to the birth of Pegasus.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I was thinking in terms of like Nepantla and Coatlicue state, how like where you talk about depression, and I find it to be this really interesting space where in this abysmal abyss, that you could find that Goyashakwi consciousness, that knowledge from the darkness. And I find that that's so profound because there's like little footnotes of it, right, of that concept. And I'm just like there is knowledge and wisdom from darkness and from that pain and from that depression. Um, and yeah, light in the dark is, yeah, it's like my tome I carry with me. But I just think that these concepts are really fascinating because she's helped so much through that Coatlicue state and through this concept of Nepantla. But I was just like, well, what was it like for her? What did she go through? And I found that to be something that connected.
yeah, she went through a lot. Like I knew her really well, I thought, but then when I was editing Light in the Dark, I understood even more deeply how very profound her depression could be. She always had that confidence and she stayed with it, but yeah, it could be pretty, I think also probably pretty lonely. Like I'm just guessing, this is just my intuition, but that's my sense of it.
And I was thinking, because Andy brought up a good point, like talking a little bit about Coatlicue for the folks who are here that may not know who Coatlicue is, or I can share a little bit, but I'd love to hear what you want to share about Coatlicue as well. I have her actually right behind me. My friend, it probably won't show up very well, but my friend.
Anna Louise, while Brenda is unfreezing, maybe
Yes.
familiarize us with Coatlicue and the Coatlicue state for those who may not be
Yes.
familiar with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coatlicue is an ancient Mesoamerican earth god creatrix kind of figure who is generally depicted as beheaded. Coatl means serpent, right? So Coatlicue has like a serpent skirt. She's depicted often as beheaded with these two serpents coming up, spurting blood out all over the place. And she also symbolizes the takeover of previous indigenous religions and beliefs by the Aztec, the conquerors. The Coatlicue state, Anzaldúa used this concept to talk about, metaphors function in multiple ways. So she used it to talk about her writing process, those writing blocks that we can experience, which can be total agony. The kind of freezing and shrinking into oneself one can experience when with racism or sexism or just those deep systemic oppressions, or other kinds of self-doubt and depression. And she talked about it in Borderlands La Frontera and in her later work as well. How's that?
Thank you. And there was also, while we're waiting for Brenda to return, there was another question in the chat from Sarah. Can YT people be Nepantleras? I don't want to appropriate. I don't want to appropriate, but I feel this concept in my soul.
So the question was, can white people be Nepantleras?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Anzaldúa really respected all of the kinds of identity categories, but she also saw them all as not completely defining of us. And she was really clear about her theories and concepts, that she was not creating them for only one group, or she was really amazing at not, hey, Brenda.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. My computer just decided to restart for some reason.
Aren't they fun? Yeah, so I'm just, there was a question asking if white people could be Nepantleras. And I'm just saying, According to Anzaldúa, absolutely. She was generous with her theories. And she herself she respected, but she was inclusive and didn't limit herself by particular identities. She held different, there's different standards to be held to. So if you're white and you're working with that concept of Nepantla, you would want to do your due diligence to acknowledge the roots of it, right? And one of the points I really try to make in the Anzalduan Theory Handbook, and one of the reasons I wrote it, was to really, I mean, if we all get stuck in our little rooms and we're all like, I'm only going to do theories that are like me or whatever, then these authors like Anzaldúa, like she won't live through the 21st century. Like it's good to engage with the ideas and keep them growing and flourishing. So yeah, just acknowledge, just respectfully acknowledge the roots of it is my view.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like if we go far back enough in our history of our ancestors when they were indigenous to place and connected to ancestors and their own mystic traditions, I think every culture had nepantleras and nepantleros who served as bridge builders between people in their community, who served as bridge builders and nepantleras between the liminal world and the non-human world with their community. And a lot of shamans played this kind of role. And so I think, yes, acknowledging this phrase and where it comes from and letting it be the impetus for looking back to where did my ancestors come from and what can I find out? I taught 1 year an introduction to curanderismo at CIIS, and one of the things I did was, yes, I'll teach you some traditional indigenous medicine, but I also want your papers to be about looking about where your ancestors came from, what were some of the traditional medicines of that place. Let it be an opening and awakening to both in the intellectual world, looking up, well, what was the indigenous medicine of Italy or of this place or that place? And then, but separate from that, going into that liminal space, asking in your dream time, asking in meditation for those ancestors back who didn't lose the medicine, who hadn't yet lost the medicine, and this ability to bridge walk, asking them to come and help you remember. Yeah, there's so many ways to access that. So yeah, holding that both end of acknowledging that this is, a phrase that's very ancient and has maintained some of that, and use that as an opening to think about what was that in our tradition and can I look into that in different ways. Let's see if we have more questions. All right. Nope. Some nice comments about the handbook.
Brenda, if you're comfortable, I want to make sure we all have enough relaxed time to be together until 1:30 Eastern time. But I'm so pleased that Ana Louise, you'll be able to stay with us for this remaining portion of the event. And this, I feel like I want more, like we should have another event to really dig into this even more. This was just a little appetizer of Nepantla. And I'm so delighted to bring the two of you together. And Ana Louise, thank you. We'll see you, on screen, but I'm going to hand this over now to Brenda to lead us in some Toltec breath work.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to acknowledge too, and I will ask if you can enable screen sharing a little bit, because it's important for me to acknowledge teachers. And I can also do that verbally. So I want to, before I start talking about Huatlic, because it's one of the practices we'll do, I did want to share, close that before I go there. It's really important to me this is part of being in the kinship worldview, is honoring who and where I come from and who taught me what I'm sharing with you today. It's really important not to claim things as, oh, this is Brenda's medicine, but medicine that's been passed down a long time. And so I want to honor my parents, my grandparents, and the different places they come from in Nicaragua, knowing that I'm powered by my ancestors, both their gifts and their trauma, and working with that in the Toltec work and the curandera work. But especially in this time, want to honor my teachers, my venerable teachers. So a lot of what I'll be sharing is my very first teachers were 3 elders from the Purépecha lineage in Michoacán, and they're pictured on the left. That was, and met them at the Festival of Traditional Medicine in Tecate. Sad that's not going on anymore, but it was a place where I met them, as well as the middle teacher, grandmother Amalia Salas, who's from Xochimilco, Mexico. For those of you who have been with me in the Harmonization and Healing with Roses work, she's the teacher of that medicine, so I'm grateful to her. And then some of the things I'll be teaching about the calendar and the prophecy and the Toltec breathwork in particular comes from Sergio Magaña, who's a Toltec teacher. And I'm very grateful to him too. I feel like there's a lot that ancestors and spirit kind of led me to when I was young in understanding. And then I think having a teacher helped me to bring some framework around that. So I'm very grateful to Sergio in that way. And then I'll share just really briefly, because I think it's relevant to this conversation and why Nepantla is so important as a concept right now. We're in this time of prophecy of the eagle and the condor. The indigenous folks taught that to be a healthy human being, regardless of your gender, you had to cultivate both wings. The wings of the eagle, which is the intellect, doing in the world, the masculine energies, this is not gender, but energies. And then also cultivating the other wing, the wing of the condor, which is of the heart, of intuition, of connecting in this liminal way with the earth and the sacred feminine. And that, the teachings before colonization were that regardless of what your gender was, you had to cultivate both wings in order to fly in a balanced way as a human being. And so people were always striving that. And sometimes the medicine people were people who were two-spirit and or walked better in this kind of balanced way. So there's a prophecy around a lot of this medicine going underground for 500 years as people who were overly eagle, overly intellect in an unbalanced way were taking over the world, and that they would decimate the condor people, the heart people out of existence. And we would have to hide this medicine for 500 years until such time in the calendar where these medicines could come back out to help humanity heal. And that's the time that we're in right now. And then in the Toltec world, one of the things that we have understanding about is these bigger cycles. So bigger cosmic cycles, bigger time cycles. There's a calendar that has to do with 6,625 year cycles, having to do with lessons that humanity is going through that period. And that when we end those periods is the time of a lot of chaos and transformation state. And that it's difficult and chaotic. So this whole concept of Nepantla and transformation and chaos, we're in one of those transitions points of going from the time of the 5th sun to the 6th sun. And I won't talk to that in great detail right now because we don't have time for that. But I will say that we're ending the time of the 5th sun, which is the knife of justice. It's very masculine, it's duality, it's all the racism, sexism things. And we're entering this time, just the very beginning phases of the time of the white sun or the time of the Quetzalcoatl nature, coming back to our Quetzalcoatl nature. But again, if you can step back, it's the same thing as unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness in different traditions. Mystic things, you have more parallels, I think, than sometimes when we're in the intellectual parts of different traditions. So this is a time where we're supposed to be remembering who we are, children of the universe and of the earth, coming into that balance and integration of the eagle and the condor, more focused on our inner path. These things are always cyclical. The last sun was a sun that looked outward for solutions and was characterized by a lot of war and patriarchy. The time of the 6th sun, for those who want to walk that in a good way, it's more focused on the inner path. So Sergio has talked about, as we've been approaching the time of the 6th sun, you've seen all this stuff coming in around inner work, mindful leadership, emotionally intelligent leadership coming into focus at a time as we approach the 6th sun, when that would have been unheard of 50 years ago, 100 years ago. The other thing that's very big part of this tradition and the inner work is working in the dream time. in the Toltec understanding, things happen in the energetic, spiritual, and the dream time before they come here into the physical realm. And so part of being a good Toltec person walking on the Quetzalcoatl path is working in the dream time to co-create with the universe and Mother Earth, the world that we want. And so one of these things that he said is like, in the ways that we've seen mindfulness and yoga coming all over the world in this recent history, we're going to start to see dream schools coming back and going all over the world too, and working in a good way in the dream time. And then the other thing that he shared was that it's really important to clear karmic and ancestral trauma energies so that we can step into the time of the sixth sun in a good way. In these transitions between the suns, so teachers have been talking to me about this like since 2012, even a little bit before that you see a lot of natural disaster in these transitions. You see a lot of death. A lot of them were preparing us for death to increase around the year 2020. So COVID was not surprising to me in that way. I do definitely have a lot of grief around that, around the loss, and I understand it in this bigger cyclical thing. And then lastly, just that systems collapse because they were in the consciousness of the last sun. So we're going to see a lot of that continuing. But that feels really tied to me like to this Nepantla state of transformation that we're talking about, and how do we walk that in a good way and do our inner work and do our ancestral work, do our work with healing the karma that our ancestors had on the land. There's so many things that are wanting to come through in this time, and being in ceremony as a community to move some of that work together. So I won't go into that, but because we were talking about Coatlicue, I love that she came through so strongly in the earlier conversation. I did want to give some context because for some of you that may be a new word. So we have many relationships to different beings in the non-human world. And so Coatlicue represents to us this goddess of life and death. She's the mother of all gods. She's depicted in this statue from that's in a museum in Mexico City with a skirt of snakes. The picture I was trying to show you when my thing broke down was this painting by Ernesto Olmos, who's a good friend of mine, of his depiction of Coatlicue. And she is, what I love about her is that she represents life and death. I think there's many ways in many of our traditions that we've held on to the part of the goddess that is life, that gives birth, that is compassionate, that's loving. But there's so many traditions where we have become afraid of the part of her that's death, and it's all part of the natural cycles. And so we want to put away the Pele's and the Kali's that destroy and clear things so that new life can be born, so that things can be composted. And that's the natural state of life, so she represents both things. And so one of the practices we'll be doing is being in relationship with her and storing some energy with her. It's really important when you're working with any beings in the Toltec path that you're first saying hello, that you're making some offerings. You don't just take things. This is part of coming back to that kinship worldview of like, oh, let's make some offerings to you because we're respectful and calling you in a good way. Then we can ask permission to store some energy with you. And so one of the interesting things about her is she wants us to be in better relationship with the earth. If you look at the time of colonization, the Virgen de Guadalupe is very connected to Tonantzin, which is connected to Coatlicue. So there's some melding of some of those images of some of these indigenous depictions of the sacred feminine that got put into the Virgen of Guadalupe and other things. And so she's an important being in Gloria Anzaldua's world, in the indigenous world, in the Nahuatl language and way of being in relationship with the energies. So what I want to do, I'm just going to make sure. Yes, I definitely will share some of these slides to go out later. And you'll get a recording of this too. So what I want to share is that one of the most important things of being in relationship with her is this energy of offerings. And so for most of the practices I've been taught in the Toltec path, when I'm doing work with the sun, morning sun to store energy, working with Coatlicue to store energy, when I'm working with the moon to store energy, I'm always starting from this place of saying hello and then making these 4 offerings. So these offerings are the best energy of my dreams, the best energy of my thoughts, the best energy of my emotions, and the best energy of my actions. So coming in this sincere and respectful way. And then after that, there's just a lot of energy and breath work with these beings. And so we're gonna be in a practice right now. So I'm gonna invite you, if you're comfortable doing so, to close your eyes and to sit in a way, and if you prefer lying down, wherever you are, it's fine. What you wanna do is just get present and in your body. So I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. And to release any heavy energies that you might be carrying with you right now, so you can be present for this practice. And then as you breathe in and out again, just see if you can feel your connection with Mother Earth, the ways that you're being supported by the earth in this time. And send your gratitude down, whether if you're sitting through your feet, if you're lying down, just with your connection with the floor. Send your gratitude down towards the center, the core of Mother Earth. And receive some energy and connection back coming up as you're breathing in and out. Just being in that relationship with the sacred below, whatever that is for you. And allowing your body to receive some of that energy. And as you're breathing in and out, also extending gratitude out towards the cosmos, the universe, through your crown. Gratitude for your divine self being in this human body. All the beings who connect with you in the universe, who watch over you, guide you, love you. Sending gratitude in that direction and receiving energy from the sacred above. Allowing those energies to fill you up and find balance in your heart being the center of the intellect, the intuition, the above, the below. Knowing that we're human beings who are meant to live from our heart and in balance with these 2 energies. And see if you can feel behind you the 7 generations of ancestors who came before you, extending out from your heart behind you. We may not know their names or where they came from, but just giving thanks to them because they dreamt us into being. They made us possible through all their gifts and all their trauma. They did the best they could, and they're part of us now, part of our bones, blood, DNA. And then see if you can feel extended out from your heart forwards, the 7 generations yet to come, who we're dreaming into being, who we're doing this work for, so that they can inherit a different future, so that they can be freer in the time of the 6th sun of some of these heavy burdens. They're cheering us on to do this work. As you feel centered in all of that in your heart, breathing in and out, we're also connecting with the energies of today in the calendar. As you breathe in and out, we're connecting with the energy of 9 Chichen, associated with life and sacred ceremonies, a day that's propitious for performing personal rituals, for asking for vitality, clarity, and understanding of your soul's journey and purpose. And a good day for working on physical, emotional, and spiritual strength by exercising your body and honoring its right to health, resolving personal or interpersonal issues, and choosing happiness and joy, and dedicating time for meditation and silence. It's a good day for doing this work together. 9 Chichen, 9 Serpent. It's very feminine imbued numbers and sign. Okay, now that we're settled in energetically that way, we're going to breathe in and out 4 times together. I'm going to say 13 in, 9 out, so that we're in the right energy. And so you'll be breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. So I'll say 13 in, 9 out as we breathe in and out. 13 in. 9 out. 13 in. 9 out. 13 in. 9 out. 13 in. 9 out. And now we're going to make some offerings to Coatlicue as life first. We'll work with both of them, but we want to work with Coatlicue as life first. And so what I'm going to do is make the 4 offerings. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to ask you to breathe with me. So you're just sending these offerings as a breath towards Coatlicue as life. And we're going to give her many offerings so that we can store life force energy. So Coatlicue as life, we asked you to come and we make these offerings to you first to be in right relationship. First, we offer you the best energy of our dreams. Second, we offer you the best energy of our thoughts. Third, we give you the best energy of our feelings. Fourth, we offer you the best energy of our actions. Now that we've made the offerings, we can call you. So I'll be calling Coatlicue in and see if you can visualize her as an energy, as a light, as a figure in front of you. And it's okay if you can't. Just trust that when we call, that beings are summoned and they come when we come in the right way. Coatlicue's life, Shiwawi, 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 Shiwawi. Please be with us. Please be with us. Please be with us. Please be with us. Now that we've summoned Coatlicue as life to be in front of us, we want to make as many offerings as we can to her so that we're able to store energy. So out of respect, we want to give her things that we want composted, that we want to release. So as you breathe in and out, I'll say some things, but there may be things that you want to release too. So as you breathe in and out through your breath, offer to the Mother Earth, to Coatlicue as life, the things to be composted. Coatlicue as life, we humbly, respectfully give to you any blockages we have in our totonolcayos, our chakras. We offer to you ancestral old winds, patterns of self-sabotage that were passed down in our line that we don't want to continue. We give to you any negative thoughts that keep us from our connection with our true self. Patterns of negative thought that were passed down in our line, as well as ones we've taken on our own. We offer to you heaviness and grief in our hearts and our chest area, particularly from these last few years. And also any grief that we may be holding for our ancestors, whatever we're able to release. The regrets they had about the things they did and didn't do. Any patterns of unhealthy relationship to self, to others. In this heart area. Things that block our immune system from being its strong and powerful self, self-healing self. Hearing anything blocking the medicine in our blood, our bones, our DNA that's lie dormant because of loss of our medicine and our relationship and kinship with the human and the non-human world. In our liver area, releasing any heaviness around anger, rage, unforgiveness that blocks our life force energy in this area. For us, for our ancestors, whatever piece we can release today. And on our other side, in our kidney area, in the abdomen area, releasing patterns of shame, guilt, low self-esteem, ours as well as our ancestors, what was passed down. The ways these cause blockage and illness in our bodies, blockage to our life force and our path forward. Releasing any blocks to our connection with Mother Earth, our intuition, our other ways of knowing, the ways we have been taught to disrespect our intuition and other ways of knowing. Releasing that to you to be composted with the earth. When there's particular blockages, illness, patterns that you want to release those through your breath. Any scarcity consciousness, any blocks I have to giving and receiving in a balanced and good way, any blocks I might have to healthy reciprocity with self and others. Any patterns of addiction, of numbing the body and the spirit in order to survive. And we know some of our ancestors did these things because they didn't know how to deal with their pain, especially when their medicines and ways of being were taken away. When they were disconnected from their bodies and their intuitions, their ceremonies in community, their dancing and grieving in community, their celebrating in community. That disconnection from belonging to one another and to the non-human world. The grief around that, and releasing that to the earth. For ourselves, for our ancestors. And because we've made many offerings to Coatlicue, we now want to say, I accept you to take my offerings. And say aloud, I accept you to take my offerings. And as you do so, feel the life force being pulled out with your out breath of some of these energies so that it's being pulled somatically, energetically from your body and going to the earth to be composted, to create new life and beautiful new things. Allow that to collapse and go to the earth with your out breath. And now that we've made many offerings, we now have permission to store some life force energy to create things in our lives, in our communities, in our families. So you want to put out your left hand. The left side is associated with Coatlicue's life. And you want to receive energy for creation and life on your left side. So as you breathe in and out now, feel energy coming in through your left hand and being stored on the left side of your body from your head to your toes. Breathe in and out and receive life force energies to create new habits, new patterns, new dreams, new beliefs, new thoughts, new feelings, new actions that are in alignment with who you are and your purpose in the world, with your health and well-being. To store for work with creation and community and family for the things you want to build together. So as you breathe in and out, allow that energy to be stored on your left side. And the only reason we're able to store this energy is because we made many offerings. We can't take this without making the offerings. So we want to always be in right relationship, breathing in and out. Allowing that energy to be stored on the left side for future use, so that you can plant new seeds for yourself, for your family, your community, so that you're not creating in a way that depletes your energy. She wants us to help her create the time of the sixth sun, of people coming into their Quetzalcoatl nature, their health, their well-being, their purpose. She wants our partnership in this. Now we clap our hands together and we say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to store this energy, for allowing us to be in right relationship and reciprocity with you. And now we turn to Coatlicue as death, the other side of Coatlicue. She has been treated unjustly in this dominant culture and disrespected. So we call you with great love and respect, Coatlicue as death. We know that you're a part of the cycles of nature and life. We know that you have many things to teach us about composting, transformation, these Nepantla states of mass and chaos. That's the beginning of new life. And so we call you first by making the 4 offerings to Coatlicue as death. We offer you the best energy of dreams, of our dreams. Offering you that with our breath. Second, we offer you the best energy of our thoughts. Third, we offer you the best energy of our feelings. Fourth, we offer you the best energy of our actions. And now we ask you respectfully to be with us. Shiwame, 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 Shiwame. Coatlicue as death, please be with us. Please be with us. Please be with us. And we sense and feel into Coatlicue as death in front of us now, the complementary and equal side of Coatlicue as life. We thank you, Coatlicue as death, for all the lessons in this time, the death of systems that are collapsing. We have sadness and grief over the death, but we understand this is a part of the cycles of life. So we welcome you. We honor you for the things you are meant to teach us, for the ways that you partner with the Mycorrhizae, the fungal network, so many beings to help compost and give new life, nutrition to new life, new seeds and new plantings. And now we humbly, respectfully make offerings to you. They may be the same offerings you made to Coatlicue's life. They may be different ones. And I'll go ahead and speak some aloud, and you can also do your own. Coatlicue as death, I offer to you at the crown of our heads some of the heavy karma of our ancestors from the 1st through 5th sons. We ask you to compost that so we can release some of that heavy burden for ourselves and for our ancestors in the ancestor world, so that we're more able to cultivate our skills and talents in this time of the 6th sun and reclaim our Quetzalcoatl nature. You know, this is part of our work of this time. Clearing heavy flints of karma for ourselves and our ancestors. In our crown, allowing that to collapse and go to earth. Clearing the eyes and ears, the things our ancestors did not want to see, did not want to hear. Ways they didn't see their own true beauty. And clearing in our throat area, our staff of power area. Things that block us from taking up our staff of power with integrity, dignity, sovereignty, and love. We release in this throat area with our breath the energy of our ancestors who took up their staff of power in oppressive ways and caused harm because they were in power over others instead of power with others. We clear some of that karma in our throat. We also clear some of the karma for some of our ancestors who gave their staff of power away and made themselves small in order to survive the times they were in. And we clear also some heavy karma for any ancestors who did stay in their staff of power with integrity and spoke their truth and were killed or ostracized for doing so, or misunderstood. We clear all of this so that we can take up our staff of power with integrity and dignity in this time, neither oppressing or being oppressed, transcending that duality of the sun. And taking up our staff of power in such a way that makes it safe for others to take up their staff of power alongside us. So we're in power with others, that we're honoring our boundaries and our truth, and that we're honoring the boundaries and truth of others, the sovereignty of others as we honor our own sovereignty. Clearing that heaviness in the throat. All the times we gave away our power, didn't speak our truth. Clearing along our legs, our feet. To you, we offer the things that kept us from walking on our path of destiny, of being rooted and grounded with Mother Earth, in respectful and good ways. The ways we've treated Mother Earth with domination and disrespect instead of relationship and gratitude. Clearing in the mouth area, we offer to you, Coatlicue, as death, any harsh words we've spoken against ourselves and others, any patterns of unkind words in our ancestral line, or words were used like daggers or arrows to inflict pain and harm. Patterns of gossip and misuse of speech in this way. We clear this so we can use our words in this time like flowers to create truth and beauty in the world. We thank you, Coatlicue as death, for receiving these things. Whatever other things you want to offer, breathe those out as well. In particular, I want to offer any stuck energy and illness that still remains, though it's clearing in my arms, in my feet. If there are other things you want to clear, offer those as well. Any energies you've taken in from others that are not yours. Any bad intentions people have sent to you. No one belongs in you but you. All those energies to collapse and go to Coatlicue as death, to be composted. Now we say to Coatlicue as death, I accept you to take my offerings. I accept you to take my offerings. As you breathe in and out, allow the life force of those energies to collapse and go to the earth. Feel them being pulled out of your body energetically, physically. Allow that energy to go to the earth, to be composted and to create good things in your life. And now with Coatlicue as death, place your right hand out. The right side is associated with Coatlicue as death. And because we've made many offerings, she's now going to allow us to store some energy on our right side to compost the things that don't serve us, our families, our communities. So breathe in and out and allow on your right side to feel the energy of death, of composting, of releasing, transmuting, to be stored in your right side from head to toe, coming in through your hand and being stored all throughout your right side for future use, so that you can compost things that don't serve you anymore. Perhaps you took on habits to survive situations in the past that you no longer need. Perhaps old relationship or behavior patterns that don't serve you. You're storing that energy to give death to things that you don't want anymore, and she'll help us energetically to do so. To compost those things so that they can create the energy for new life and new seeds to be planted. And storing that energy on your right side for future use to give death to things that don't serve us, that don't serve our families, that don't serve our communities. Giving thanks We store this energy. It is very connected to the Nepantla state of transformation. Of discomfort and new life and new growth. The rites of passage of endings and beginnings that we have lost in our modern context. Give thanks for Coatlicue death, for the ways that you're teaching us in this time of the preciousness of human life and the honoring of these transitions. And being in ceremony with one another in community to honor these transitions and deaths for ourselves and for our communities. We clap our hands together. We say thank you to Coatlicue's death. We thank you both sides of Coatlicue's life and death for this opportunity to be in right relationship with you, to make offerings to you, to receive energies from you, to store for future use. Help us to remember to be in right relationship, to store this energy with integrity, to work with this energy in integrity, to respect our sovereignty and the sovereignty of others as we work with this energy. And with love and respect, we thank you for this opportunity to be in relationship and partnership with you. On the count of three, we'll come back. 1, 2, 3. Feel free to breathe in and out. Wiggle your hands and toes or move your body in whatever way it might want after being in this other place together. Yeah. So I want to make a little time here for any reflections people might have about what they experienced, what they felt, what they saw, knowing that it's going to be different for everyone. There's no right or wrong way. You don't have to see things for the energy to work. It really is about right relationship and surrendering into the space. But I would love to hear from folks who feel comfortable sharing what came up for you. And if you have questions too. It's my joy to share.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deja, pronouns she, they. I'm here on Pomo land in Northern California. I'm so happy that I stumbled upon this. I've never even go on Facebook, and I saw this come up, and I haven't felt, so I'm also an Indigenous intuitive healer. I'm from Guam originally. And I practice my Indigenous medicine out here, and I have never felt such energy in between my hands through that meditation. And it was really amazing because when we were receiving on the left side, I had a tear fall from the left side. And when we were releasing on the right side, I had a tear fall from the right side. And before this Zoom and going into the end of the year, because my solar return is actually, it falls on December 31st. So I prepare for a lot toward the end of the year. And it's amazing how it's just in such alignment with the things that you're saying about releasing ancestral trauma and what I'm working on and how in alignment we are, because I've started to learn a little bit about Toltec studies, but because of colonization and cultural appropriation, I'm very careful about how I want to learn things and how I receive things. And so thank you for just sharing that amazing, safe connection that I've never felt before. And you don't usually expect to feel things like this, especially through Zoom and in this way. So you are powerful. Thank you. Thank you. I don't even just thank you. And thank you for holding this space for us. I'm grateful, and I definitely want to connect with you. I have a retreat space in NorCal, where I host free retreats for women and the queer community. So thank you. I needed that.
No, don't we all? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your sacred work that you're holding where you are. So grateful, so grateful. Yes, let's definitely stay in touch. Anybody else have a reflection about what they saw or felt, or if there's questions you have? It's okay. I think there's little trickster energies playing with us that kicked me off earlier too, right? When I was trying to show somebody's playing with us on the other side. Okay, if there are no questions.
I saw a question from Sarah, and I saw a question from Claudia.
Okay, great, great.
Well, Claudia, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I just share how moved I'm feeling, how thankful and how honored I am right now. I'm originally I was born in Amazon forest. I'm from Brazil. And I've been so deeply in touch and doing in this journey of healing and connecting with the wisdom of my ancestors. And it just feels so beyond words to do this in community and to realize that my personal journey in connecting with this, that's been so isolated, so lonely, is connected in such a way, such profound way, and Gloria Zaldúa is just a gift to be connected with the legacy that we have as women in our continent, throughout the spine cord of our continent, from North America to South America, and connect with this energy. And I just feel so loved, and I feel like so thankful to your presence. Really, Brenda, thank you so much. I hope to be in touch, to get in touch, and to keep doing this work together, also through Reimagining.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I can feel your condor medicine through the screen.
Thank you. Likewise.
Medicine of the condor. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Brenda, I saw Sarah's hand raised before.
Oh, thank you for managing that, because I'm terrible at managing those things. Go for it, Sarah.
Hey, so like everyone else, I first want to say thank you. That was beautiful. But I'm a white woman of Irish descent, and I typically associate myself with the goddess Brigid, and I'm of Christian ancestry, so I have a lot of that background. And I'd actually never done this practice before, and what I found was, because it was so unfamiliar to me, it felt like I was talking to a stranger, but that it was a stranger that I wanted to get to know, who can help me let go of some of the grosser parts of my background, help me compost some of those things that have been used to hurt others. That I can still be faithful to Brigid, but get to know this other aspect of divinity. And so thank you for introducing me.
Oh, my pleasure. I feel like I mentioned that when I'm in a lot of intermystic leader spaces, and there's really no conflict in those spaces around medicine. I think in the Christian world, like, I was raised Catholic, but definitely what I have loved in my adulthood is I worked for a place called Wisdom and Money, and we worked a lot with the contemplative practices of Mary Magdalene. And that part was in alignment with all this stuff, right? And then I teach at this thing called Fairy Congress in Oregon every year, and that's so much fun. Like, primarily European descent folks who are reclaiming some of their indigenous practices. So there's so many places where we can gather and reconnect to dropping in together in these different ways. Yeah.
Well, and I find it's an interesting. I'm reading Sweetgrass right now for the book club. It's so amazing. And Robin talks about having both feet here on this land. Stop standing 1 foot on one shore and 1 foot on the other shore. But be, if we're going to be naturalized, then be naturalized citizens. And so learning about Indigenous culture while also carrying my Celtic culture and learning to combine those two has been amazing. So thank you for your help with that.
Oh, my pleasure. Do we have any more hands?
We do. We have Sarah.
Another Sarah.
Another Sarah, thank you.
Sarah.
And thank you so much for that practice. I'm of Jewish heritage, so this is not my heritage either. But just a really quick comment, which is that I found the rattle to be very powerful for me in combination with the breath. That it was a surprise how much I felt that rattle in my body as we were doing the practice, and it felt very effective. That's all, just that comment.
Yeah, I think one of my teachers, I don't remember what it was, said to me, if you look at all Indigenous cultures around the world, they all had drums, they all had rattles, and they all used toning with a voice in their ceremonies. So this rattle transcends across all these mystic traditions, which I really, really appreciate. And it's such a good mover of energy. Yeah. So we have about 8 minutes left. So we're going to do a very quick practice, which doesn't take as long. So I'm going to do it for the morning sun because it's still the morning sun where I am. I teach a course on Toltec practices, which includes these and other practices. And so one of the things we do with Grandfather Sun is to store energy in different centers of our body. And so the one that we store with the morning sun, you store in your liver area. So that's in your abdomen on the right side. And I don't have time to go into all of this, but like our understanding of the aura is made up of multiple energetic bodies. And one of them lives in that liver area. And that's called the Ihioto. And it's where we store life force energy. It's also the place where there's, if there's stuck energy there around anger, rage, unforgiveness in us and our ancestral line, it blocks our life force. And so we want to store some energy there. And we'll just do that just for a few minutes and then we'll wrap up. So again, inviting you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Also, if you're near a window and you can look at the sun, that's great too. I usually like to do this actually facing the sun outside, but it can be done from anywhere. And again, we're going to offer the 4 offerings to Grandfather Sun, the best energy of our breath with the best energy of our dreams, best energy of our thoughts, best energy of our feelings, best energy of our actions. Now that we've made respectful offerings to Grandfather Sun, he's going to allow us to store some energy in our liver area. So I usually put my hand there, but you don't have to, just visualize the energy going there. And what we're going to do is do a cycle of 13 breaths, and we're swallowing the energy of the sun. So as we breathe in, we're swallowing, we're breathing in, we're swallowing, and then we're breathing out. So you're breathing in, so I'll just demonstrate. And then I swallow and then I breathe out. And that's what we're going to do. So you're swallowing in that energy of the sun. The first 7 breaths are always for ourselves and our own work and our own life force. And then the next 6 breaths are for storing for future use and work with others. So just follow along with me, breathing in through your mouth, swallowing the energy of the sun. First breath. Swallow and release. Allowing that energy to be stored in your liver area. Second breath. Swallow and release. Third breath. Swallow and release. And you may find difficulty swallowing, that's okay. It's normal in the beginning of this practice. With practice, it gets easier. 4th breath. Swallow and release. 5th breath. Swallow and release. Giving thanks for this life force energy so we have abundant life force. 6th breath. Swallow and release. 7th breath. Swallow and release. We give thanks for storing these 7 for our own use. And now the next 6 we're storing for future use and work with others. 8th breath. 9th breath. Swallow and release. 10th. Swallow and release. 11th. And 12. Swallow and release. 13. Swallow and release. We clap our hands together and we say, thank you, Grandfather Sun, for this opportunity to store life force energy, half for ourselves, half for our work with others, so that we're in balance and not depleting ourselves as we work with others. And also so that we're storing energy to do our own work, always on our own path of work as we're helping others. Help us to store this energy with integrity, to work with this energy with integrity, to be in our sovereignty and to respect the sovereignty of others as we work with this energy. And as always, thank you for bringing in the new day and creating life through your energy in us and all around us. And kind of 3, come back. 1, 2, 3. So you should do those in the morning, and we'll do more than one set, also to partner with the hummingbird energy that makes impossible healings possible. So feel free to work with that as you leisure. I think we only have 1 minute left, but I did want to invite Anna-Louise back. We can say goodbye together. I'm so grateful you were here, that you were able to join us.
Me too. I'm so grateful to have been in conversation with you, and thank you for that breath work and the visualization. I'm so hot now.
Yeah, lots of energy running.
Yeah, I'm just like, whoa. Thank you so much. Those are such beautiful practices. Kwa'likwe has been so important to me as long as Ansel Dua. So I love that, and thinking about the left and the right like that. So beautiful.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be in conversation with you, and I see a long lifetime of friendship blossoming from here forward.
I look forward to it.
Andy, is there anything else we want to do before we close? I know it's 10:30.
I think we should all put our hands together for the two of you.
Thank you.
And bringing together intellect and spirit. It's all connected, and you really brought this together for us at this event. I hope everyone will join us next week for our table talk on plant medicine. And we're just so happy that all of you came, and just keep attending. We'll send the follow-up email with resources to all of you, the recording, the slide deck, etc. And I wish everyone a beautiful day.
Thank you so very much to you all.
Thank you.
A pleasure, a blessing to be here.
I want to.
You all take care.
Yes.
Yes, Brenda.
Yes, I do want to address one thing in the one or two things in the chat because it feels important. Lena mentioned that she has a little pain around her liver. I would recommend doing another round of this, 13 breaths, asking the hummingbird energy to partner to do healing in that area. So just the morning sun is associated with the hummingbird energy. So just do 13 breaths and ask for some movement of whatever pain around the liver. That's just indicating some energies that want to be moved for you and your ancestors in that area. And then won't go into it now, but somebody did ask about the symbolism of number 7 and 6. So everything in the Toltec is related to sacred geometry. Particular numbers have certain energies. So 13 is a very important number. So it's actually the number 13 is important in that practice. And then the breakdown is mostly because my teachers have taught me too many healers are healing people out of their own life force and depleting themselves. So he's very teaching you the discipline of half for you, half for the others in that cycle of 13. I think I wanted to address those two just because it felt. Yes, definitely do another. I see Andrea's boosting the question. So yeah, definitely invite you to do more of that. And you can also offer it to Coatlicue. Say if there's pain that's coming up in my liver, I want to offer it to be composted. She's happy to take things. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And you'll get some resources by email after this. Much love.
Andy, thank you so much for bringing this opportunity to us all.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.